I haven't done like a sit down video in so long. It feels really weird. Hello everybody, my name is Luke and welcome back to my channel. It's a new year, new me, so naturally I've got a can of Coke and a massive bar of chocolate. Healthy eating 2019 is going so well. I have decided that I want to do a Doctor Who Series 11 review. Don't know what to call it because it's not really like a review, I don't think. So it's basically just going to be like my thoughts, my feelings. That's a review, Luke. It's a review. There will be spoilers, probably, maybe, in this video. So if you are A, deeper and are watching Doctor Who with me, don't watch this video because like we're playing at. Or 2, if you don't want Doctor Who Series 11 spoiled in any way, shape or form, may. If you are a Doctor Who fan and you're interested in my thoughts and feelings, stick around. If you are just lost, you can stick around too. I'm really quite sweaty. Before we begin, I'm not here to slag off the series in any way, but Series 11 was my least favourite series of new Doctor Who. I want to say I love Jodie and I love her whole team. I think it's casted really, really well. But I just wanted to like put that out there before people attack me, because this is the internet and people will attack me and they'll say things like, your opinion's wrong. It's my opinion, and to me my opinion is correct. To you it's probably wrong, and do you know what? That's how opinions work. You guys should do this too. Get a drink, have some food. Really neat, expertly cut. So we begin with episode 1, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. To me this was a really, really strong start. The episode itself was really refreshing. When new doctors and particularly new showrunners take over, that's kind of what you want. Throughout Series 11, it was Chris Chibnall's best performance as head writer and executive producer. I also felt it was Jodie's best performance. Rediscovering who the Doctor is and her trying to find herself, she did really well. I loved finding out who the gang were and discovering the new companions. When all the like promo pictures were happening, I thought they were all going to be strangers and they were going to meet through the Doctor, but it was quite cool that they pre-knew each other. I actually think the companions were written best in this episode. We learned that Ryan had dyspraxia and that he had, you know, some sort of family issues. I really sort of felt for him, and we learned that Yaz was a policewoman. She was kind of sassy. That policewoman side of her was really there, and I feel like we lost a lot of that in the future episodes. And Graham was just a sweetie from the get-go, and I thought it was really ballsy sort of opening episode. It was sad, it was funny, like I said, it was refreshing, it was new, it was exciting. It felt like what I wanted from Series 11. Biggest downer for me was probably Tim Shaw. As an opening, he's alright. To save him up for the finale, no, Chris, what are you doing? Episode 2, The Ghost Monument. Oh, I'm about to run out of battery already and I've just started talking. I can't do this YouTube stuff. I don't know why I try. The Ghost Monument was really good at finishing up where we left off, but I guess it kind of had no choice because it ended on a cliffhanger. I felt the story could have been a bit better. I feel like these guys just having a random race was a bit random, and I was just like, this is super random. There was a tent that was there, but sometimes not there. The villains was bits of like fabric flying around, like killing people. There were some robots that had like really bad aim. They made the stormtroopers from Star Wars actually look good. It had that fresh feel still, which I really enjoyed, and I still appreciated Jodie and the companions at that point. I loved the reunion between the Doctor and the TARDIS. So the interior is a bit, I don't know how I feel about it yet because I haven't seen enough of it. We didn't spend that much time in the TARDIS this series. So the Ghost Monument, we're on a bit of a, it was like middle ground. Then we move on to episode 3, Rosa. Episode 3 was one of my very favourites, not just of Series 11 but probably of Doctor Who. Yaz, Ryan and Graham, we were really getting into them feeling time travel and understanding the Doctor. It brought to life these very real and human problems and emotions, and it was very genuine and it felt very honest. It was probably one of the most powerful episodes of Doctor Who. It was on that sort of level of Vincent, like I think everybody felt that episode, and I feel that Rosa did something quite similar. I was a bit worried when I saw the Next Time trailer because I was like, this is such a heavy subject, and I loved that they didn't take Rosa's moment away from her. I was a bit worried that Doctor or the companions were going to be like, you need to sit down, you need to do this, but it was a more subtle way that no one told her to do it. She still just did it on her own accord and stayed on the bus, and it was fabulous. And it was such a moment in Doctor Who that I got goosebumps for the first time in Series 11. Again, the villain aspect wasn't great, but I feel like it was an improvement on Tim Shaw and the bits of cloth. You know, he was kind of just like a guy who was like a bit of a knob. I think him trying to like change time, and he was constantly sort of one step ahead of the Doctor and the gang. It wasn't a big over the top villain, because if you did, you have the risk of taking away from Rosa. I think Rosa needed to be the all eyes on her in that episode. A bit similar to Vincent. The villain in that episode wasn't great, let's not lie. Like Crofeus, that was invisible for half of it. Like, cool. Episode 4, Arachnids in the UK. Probably my least favourite of the whole series. Well, we started high, we had a little wobble, and we went higher, and then we just crashed and we burned. One, I know the title was like a pun. I got rinsed for it on Twitter. I was like, I don't like the title, and everyone was like, oh, it's a pun. Like, it's a pun on anarchy in the UK. The title sounds like a newspaper like headline, like Arachnids in the UK, and they weren't even in like the UK. It was Sheffield. Again, the villain factor is just not that good this series, because like giant spiders, like we've seen it before. We've seen it in Doctor Who itself. We've seen it in Harry Potter. We've seen it in Lord of the Rings. Like, it's just such a basic idea, and it's like, cool. Chris Chibnall has created 3 companions, so that's a lot of people to get to know. And this was the episode where I felt like they started to get pushed aside. Loads of guest characters. Yaz's mum, that dickhead who owned the hotel. Those two started to get the lines that the companions should have. Suddenly the companions weren't saying anything or doing anything because other people were. This guy who owned the hotel, I don't even know his name, like that's how memorable he was. As a character, he is designed to be disliked because he is a knobhead. It came across really like pantomime and a bit like kids TV forced. Like Chris Chibnall was like, I want to give this guy every single thing you could think of that you don't like about a person and put it in one person so that you guys hate him and I don't have to do any work about it. He's like Donald Trump. Are you kidding? I don't like spiders. I had the intense moments when the spiders were crawling around and stuff. There was a lot of tangents going on, like Yaz's dad was collecting rubbish because of conspiracy theories or something. Like, it was so unmemorable that I just remember little bits and I can't link them together. The Doctor would rather let a giant spider suffocate than shooting it, because shooting it's too unkind, but apparently letting it suffocate to death is all right. Chocolate break, chocolate break. Episode 5, the Saranga Conundrum. I preferred it to Arachnids in the UK, but it still was on a low. Again, didn't even notice the companions were there because Chris Chibnall once again put a million other people in. There was that brother and his sister who were having some sort of beef. She had a weird little android man walking around. There was a pregnant man. There was a nurse and a doctor. It was just like, who are all these people? There's 6 of them. There's 3 companions. There's the Doctor. It's 10 people. There's too many people for me to like care about. Unless you're going to split it into 2 parts, like Impossible Planet and Satan Pit, or like Under the Lake and Before the Flood, but because it was spread over 2 episodes, you sort of got to know them a bit more. Whereas in this episode, I was just like, I don't care about anybody. To me, it was like a cop-out that the sister could fly anything, so obviously she could fly them all to safety at the end. But I have to say I preferred Pating to the rest of the episode. Being too busy and heavy for me was what I disliked about the episode. Saranga Conundrum literally sounds like a school essay. Like, it was another title I just hated. Episode 6 was Demons of the Punjab. Did what Doctor Who does best, which was to take companions and really show them that you can't mess with time travel and you can't try to change things no matter how bad they're gonna get. And I love when Doctor Who does that. It was nice to get to know Yaz. Episodes 2, 4 and 5, I just didn't know who Yaz was at all. She was just sort of there. So to have an episode focus on her was really nice. I felt the soundtrack upped its game hugely. The demons were actually quite nice, and actually humans are like more demons, and that was like a running theme in this series, and I don't know how much I enjoyed it because Chris Chibnall wrote Countryside, which was a great episode of Torchwood, but that was the premise of Countryside, was it made the Torchwood gang realise that sometimes humans are just as bad as big aliens. He just sort of made Countryside happen a lot. 7, we had Kablam. Crazy fun, stupid roller coaster, and I absolutely loved it. I like it when Doctor Who doesn't take itself too seriously. I feel like things like Voyage of the Damned is very much in that bracket, things like the Crimson Horror. The thing I loved about it was that we actually had a good villain. The Kablam man looked horrific with his permanent smile and his like glowing eyes. So I loved the Kablam robots. I loved the storyline of like a retailer. Everything just ticked a lot of good Doctor Who boxes for me. I actually cared about the people. Who was Lee Mack's character? Was he called Dan? I feel like he was called Dan. I'm gonna call him Dan. Kira and Charlie were like the guest characters, and I loved all 3 of them. I thought all 3 of them were really cute and adorable. But when bad things started to happen to these guys, I was like, please don't hurt them. And they did. Then the Witchfinders comes along in episode 8. It was really good. It was a nice era of history, gross things that actually really did happen, like witch trial. It was fun to see the Doctor and the gang muck around. They sort of interacted well with each other in this episode. The villain was good again. It was like scary witches that were kind of like zombies. And then the complete scene stealer was obviously Alan Cummings. Unlike the guy in Arachnids, was like pantomime done correctly. Alan Cummings' pantomime theatrical over the top performance of King James was so delicious. It was everything I ever wanted. I related to him because he had a crush on Ryan and I've got a crush on Ryan. So next episode, 9, It Takes You Away. A lot of people seem to really like this episode. I hear a lot of positive things about it. I've watched a few people's reactions to it and they seem to really like it. I feel like I'm missing something because I don't like it as much as everybody else does. It had a very good premise. The idea of it was very good. Going through a mirror into another universe that's sort of tailor-made for you and has like your loved ones there to sort of keep you there. We had a similar premise in Class, episode 3, called Night Visiting. This like plant-like life form used your like dead loved one's image to sort of trap you. But I feel like Patrick Ness and the Class team did a better version of that premise. But I really didn't feel the flesh moths were a good adversary. Ribbons, was that his name? The little alien in there. I felt he was completely unnecessary, did not need to exist. I will say that I didn't really like the frog. It looked awful. It shouldn't have had Grace's voice. I found that like a bit distasteful to give it a dead person's voice. I get where they were going with the frog. I get where they were going with the whole episode. I just feel it was really badly executed. I feel like it looks very good on paper as a script or a book, but just doesn't work for me on telly. And then we move on to the finale, the Battle of Ranskor Av Kolos. Something like that. It was a good episode. Tim Shaw returned. I knew he was coming back because 1, he didn't die in the first episode, and 2, they mentioned the Stenza in the Ghost Monument. I feel like for a really good impact, the Stenza should have been mentioned a bit more throughout. It was my least favourite finale. It was very much just like, oh, Tim Shaw is back. He's got a few planets, not as many as Davros had about 10 years ago. So it was kind of like a finale we'd already seen, but just not as good. It just didn't blow me away. I'm normally blown away by Doctor Who finales. The highlight of It Takes You Away and the Battle of blah 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 was Gryan. I meant to say Graham and Ryan, but I may as well. Gryan? Is that even a term? Are we using that term? I'm going to make it a term. Graham and Ryan were the highlight of the last 2 episodes for me. And I am going to talk about Resolution as well. It was one of Chris Chibnall's better. Other than The Woman Who Fell to Earth, I think Resolution was Chris and Jodie's best performances as well. The Dalek was done well. A very refreshing Dalek story, which was nice. On the whole, I think Chris did Daleks quite well, and I was really worried he wasn't going to. Great that Nicholas Briggs was still there. I had a minor moment of panic because I feel like Chris Chibnall's chucked a lot of things that used to exist, and I was really worried that he was going to chuck Nicholas Briggs. But speaking of things that he has cut, I may be the only person, but I was kind of mad about Unit. I didn't think Unit should be cut out of the show for a Brexit pun. I feel that was very unnecessary. Don't do it. But he did it. I hated the font. I feel like that's a thing that's gone around a lot. It was too big. It just kept slamming words up in your face and you were like, whoa. How can these soldiers from the 9th century destroy a Dalek? I don't understand. When I watched Dalek, it was this episode that taught me that these were ruthless killing machines, that no matter how many human beings there were, this one single Dalek could kill them all. And then we get to this point where Chris is like, oh, big army of people, they can kill one Dalek. And I'm like, that's not what I was taught. But maybe I'm just looking into it too much. Do tell me if I'm being way too judgy. And then we have Ryan's dad, which is something I was expecting because he got the letter from him in Arachnids, which was a Chris Chibnall episode, and then the next Chris Chibnall episode, Ryan was talking about how important a dad is to the pregnant man. So I knew that he was building up to Ryan's dad returning. It was a more emotional side of things because we got to see how damaged he is from it, and Tosin acted it really well, I felt. Does it sound bad that I wanted Ryan's dad to die at the end? I hate to bring another spin-off into it, but I feel like Sarah Jane Adventures did the rubbish dad coming to speak to his son thing. I think Sarah Jane did it better with the Mark of the Berserker episode where Clyde's dad comes back. I don't like the fact that Chris Chibnall keeps getting rid of the theme tune. It's happened twice in series 11 now. Not a fan of it, and that's another thing I didn't like about series 11 was that the theme tune was at the beginning every time, whereas I've really come accustomed to the little opening theme tune and then the episode. That was my series 11 review. It had really good episodes in it. I thought The Woman Who Fell to Earth, Rosa, Demons of the Punjab, Kablam and Witchfinders were 5 really solid episodes, which is half of the series, so that's really going well. I will forever love Doctor Who, and series 11 was still a good series. It's just that I've been spoiled, I think, by adoring series 1 to 10 so much that Chris Chibnall had a tough job on his hands anyway, but it's still better than majority of television because Doctor Who is the best show on television. I love 13, I love her team, I just want to know them a little bit better. Less guest stars in each episode, better villains. Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. I'd love to hear other sides to things, like someone out there really likes the episodes that I didn't. I'd like to hear what your favourite bits about them was, and then maybe it would give me an insight. I don't want people to fight in the comment section. I don't want people to say that other people's opinions are wrong. I don't want anyone to say that series 11 was the best or the worst. It's all opinion based, and it's a nice free space for you, everyone to chat down below, and I want to see what everyone has to say. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more content that's absolutely stupid. I'll see you later for me and Deepa's Doctor Who reaction. Bye.